This is the 8-9 Combo.
This is the 8-9 Combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones. Hello, mate. How you doing?
How's it, Brett? I was thinking about you yesterday when I was getting a Thai massage. My massage therapist was walking on my legs and my arse and my back, and I started thinking about you. And the reason why I thought about you in that moment, during all that oil and goodness, was a Muzak version of Waltzing Matilda was playing inside said massage place.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, well, what the hell? I mean, why are we singing a Borscht Belt, Neil Diamond, Inspiration Ode to Caroline Kennedy, the daughter of John F. Kennedy? And then later on, he said, no, it was actually for his wife. He just needed 3 syllables. And it's schlocky, and it's really a bunch of nothing. When you've got the swag man and the jolly Billy Bong, blang, blang, whatever, walking around full of Aussie irony, it's a sing-alongness there. What is going on with the DJs?
Yeah.
Come on.
We have tried Waltzing Matilda in stadium. About 20 years ago, it was almost tradition that teams would run on, there'd be some sort of thing, and then suddenly John Williamson, who was a famous country singer, would sort of walk along the sideline just strumming guitar, and everyone would break into Waltzing Matilda. And
I mean, it's about a guy dying instead of being caught. It's perfect for this series. Yeah.
It's about a guy jumping in a pond with a stolen sheep.
That can bind the Anzac together. So not every country does have a sing-alongy folk song that's an unofficial anthem. You've got one. Stop with the Caroline, please.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on this. Is that
get
a
out of my
pre-G's?
massages, please, as well.
I will very happily depart your massage if I possibly can. That sounded like a pre-cheers. Who are we giving cheers to around the world? I'm just saying that the tour is on. It is on. I literally have bags packed. I'm jumping on a plane in less than 12 hours. I'm very much looking forward to this. We've been waiting for years and literally years, and now it's test week, and now it's felt real for the last couple of weeks. Now it feels really real.
Yeah, I'm really sad because I'm just like Luke Cowan-Dickey and others. I've been injured and knocked out of the tour. But my reflection about you is even Australians trying to go to all the matches kind of have to go on tour because your country's so massive.
Yep, absolutely. That's what
it's a real thing to go to Perth. That's like, I don't know what the equivalent is in Europe, but that would be like going to Yugoslavia, the whole Yugoslavia or something. Yeah. Let's go to Perth. My cheer is about someone who's coming on our show today. I was listening on a nice long bike ride to Blood and Mud, Mud and Blood, Blood, Mud. And I found myself being carried away. They were talking about all kinds of things about rugby, but suddenly we found ourselves, Lee and his co-host Josh, talking about Paul Newman's salad dressing. And even though I was going back with the, minus 30, I wanted to see how we got there, and I couldn't find a way. And I thought, I'm okay staying with salad dressing. So I went forward. And then we just talked about salad dressing for a while as I rode my bike. And I want to give a cheer out to the wonderful conversational skills of rugby podcasters everywhere, where it doesn't really matter what we start talking about. It's
where we finish. Yeah. No, that's a good shout. And we do welcome Lee Calvert from said Blood and Mud podcast back on the 8-9 Combo for a great rugby chat very soon. But first, mate, please, can you tell me why subscribing to the 8-9 will ensure our listeners are never late for the bus?
Because I'll be able to go to a better massage place where it's not music. There'll be actual live music. There'll be a guy in the room. I mean, it helps you, the merry listener, because then I'll have great stories to tell about a guy with a sitar, playing Waltzing Matilda while I'm getting massaged.
This is true. And sometimes that's all it needs. If you are already watching us on the 8-9 YouTube, hello, welcome, thank you. If you are not subscribed, hit that little red button down there. And if you are listening to us on Spotify or Apple Pods or whatever it is, hit follow, hit like, hit subscribe, whatever it happens to be, and make sure you do not miss a minute. Have started. The exclusives are flowing. Common sense decisions are being weighed out by bombshell revelations. And about the only winners in it are all people like us with a medium like this, where we can either get bogged down in the detail or we can ridicule the absurdity of it all. And this all means there is no better time to welcome back to the 8-9 Combo from the Blood and Mud podcast, Lee Calvert. Hello, mate. Welcome back. How you going?
Very good. Hello, Brett. Hello, Harry. Thanks for having me back. Thank you very much. Glad to be back, and in this very big week, of course.
It is a big week, isn't it? All of a sudden, it's a big week,
and it feels bigger because it feels like there's been kind of a long lull and never really got out of the lull. And there's three things I blame for that. I haven't thought of the third one, by the way. I'm just saying three. First one is Maro Itoji's sonorous voice that reminds me of those submarine movies where it's ding, bing, Captain, they're closing fast. And it's just like his voice actually reminds me of the radar machine. And it makes me not want to run through a wall. It makes me not want to have any kind of scandal. Everything he says is so well measured. It's so harrow, so just posh and moderate. I mean, I like the guy, but I don't know if he makes me want to, have manic aggression or fuck someone up. And then the other thing is on the Aussie side, I just feel like you got a lot of nice boys over there, Brett. Are you worried about this thing turning into sort of a, peaceful, polite brawl?
No, because as soon as the ball gets kicked off in Brisbane on Saturday night, all of that goes out the window. It just becomes another rugby game, and with more on the line, obviously. But no, I don't think there's any concerns about that. I know what your third point is that you haven't forgotten. To me, this actually feels like the first Lions tour in 8 years, and it's probably because 2021 didn't get to have the same sort of build-up. And I don't know what it was like for you, Lee, back in the UK, but watching from afar, it was just weird to try and see this really big series being played in front of no one and everyone locked down and everyone it just didn't quite feel right.
I'll give you the third one, Harry. The reason why it's hard to get excited because it's not been very good so far. I'll be quite honest, it's not been very good. So it's hard so we're all pinning a lot of hopes on the actual proper game.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. So we'll talk about that, I guess. In terms of 2021, sport was just strange then. Do you remember? I mean, certainly over here with the football and everything on Sky, they had the fake AI, so early,
yes,
AI, crowd noise and all that, which is just really strange. You could turn that off. And so there was all of that, and it was just really strange. And then, of course, it just became more and more cursed in some ways, that tour, the longer it went on. So it was very hard. You kind of went into it with a bit of, God, it feels weird this is even happening, and now it's hard to get excited. And then it just went quite poisonous, and which, looking back on it now, I quite enjoy, actually. It's nice to reflect on it, but at the time, it was a difficult time for the world and a difficult time for rugby, I think.
And Warren Gatlin will help you still remember it all the time because he's on writing columns where he's saying, the concept, the revolutionary concept of the skip pass. Like you can imagine Finn Russell fizzing it to Hugh Jones. Oh my God! I wonder if the Aussies are thinking that might happen.
Yeah, he's just taking a job with Uruguay, Warren Gatlin. I mean, how much does he not spending time with his family? Do you know what I mean? It's incredible. I mean, he missed the entire childhood of his children, and now he's like, he could quietly retire with millions, but he decides to go around in Uruguay. But I don't know how you've probably done that at some point. You could probably know what the appeal is. But
once I owned a majority stakeholdership of AT&T Uruguay, but then I decided when I tried to sell off the stock, I couldn't do it because it wasn't really no existe.
Yeah, right.
But to that point, Lee, don't you love the bullshit excuses coaches give about family all the time? They always put their family in there when it's on the way out, and then they always pop back up about 7 months later. Hello. I'm here in Okinawa.
Yeah, I tried hanging around with them. It was dreadful. So I've come back to rugby. Yeah,
I mean, what a life they've led if they've gone from player to coach, because it's really a strange existence. Really, like most of them, and they'll become strange. So Brett, you were saying that there is some life now on the tour. What's the buzz on the ground? What's the buzz on the ground in Brisbane?
I think so, and I think once I land in Brisbane, it'll be different again. We've spoken this week already about the different feel in the crowd and the different look of the crowd. There was a lot more blocks of red in Adelaide on the weekend than there was in Canberra this time last week. So there's clearly more tour groups are arriving. I expect that there'll be more arriving between the Adelaide game and this and the first test. There'll be people out here just for the test, obviously. There's probably an influx of people who are maybe just doing just the first and second test as well. So they're only out here for maybe 10 days. So they've basically got, 8 nights of drunken rugby debauchery. I don't know. And then they're done. So, that's what I'm expecting to see and to run into in Brisbane this week.
Big culture clash too. I mean, in my admittedly limited sample size of Australian rugby live, but copious examples in the home nations. The home nations stand. They're happy to stand. They bring a lot of beers in with them, but they stand a lot of the time. And Aussies like to sit in their seat and they do not like someone standing in front of them. So if there's going to be a big brawl in Brisbane, I think it's going to brew because of that. A bunch of red-clad people standing in the way of some Queenslander. Sit down.
Maybe stranger things have happened. So yeah, look, it's funny, isn't it? Like it's now that we're sort of over the pre-tour part of it, like the preliminaries. Like what now? Does the build-up start getting better from here? Like, is this going to be the way it is for the next 3 weeks now, with little snippets of team news, leaked to this guy and multiple exclusives and all that sort of stuff? Is this what it looks like now for the next 3 weeks?
I think so. And to be honest, the entire build-up in the first number of weeks getting through all this is also, we can just add more fuel to the who's going to be outraged at the first test selection from a British Nice Line point of view. Fire. Let me just store up reasons why that guy is wrong. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing. But so I do think the build-up becomes real now. The team, the team's virtually been leaked already, but it's out officially tomorrow. And at that point, you can start to strap in to understand what they might actually be playing like, because it changes so much up to this point. So I think the actual real analysis can begin as of tomorrow, because a lot of it's a kind of faux analysis up to this point. Sorry, whenever this is. Yeah,
whenever this goes out.
Yes, so I think that's the big thing. I think you can finally start addressing the reality of the situation rather than something that you've manufactured in your mind in some ways.
Yeah, and it's funny, Harry, isn't it? Because with every different tip, it sort of brings with it a different way of playing, certainly from a Lions point of view. Like if they slop this guy in at 6 and this guy in at 7 and this guy in at 15, that's going to look different to these other 3 guys in those same positions. So it's funny from a Lions point of view. And that's before we even get to the Wallabies.
I haven't seen that much variation, actually. I think, whether you're doing Curry, Josh, or Jack Morgan, it's the same. But they seem to have gone with Curry. Whether you go Byrne or Chesham at big 6, it's sort of the same thing.
Similar. But it looks like it's
whether it's Aki or Sione, you're still trying to punch holes and play the ball to Hugh, handsome Hugh. I think everything else has been quite well settled for a while once Joe McCarthy sort of shouldered his way into the picture. I suppose for me, the big question is this way that Andy Farrell was making his guys play, over offload, and then pretend to be, mad about it later? Is that really the way he's going to play? Or was that always smoke and mirrors? And they'll actually play proper test rugby. Finn Russell will kick the ball. They will exit normally, and Hugo Keenan brings sort of real fullback play. So if that's the case, then I think the Wallabies are in trouble. If they do think they want to just play spectacular ball, Lee, then that will be a very interesting story. And then Andy Farrell's putting a lot of chips on that, because this is between the two coaches. That drama is real. Joe versus Andy.
Yeah.
Just like Warren versus Rossi is and was real. This is a serious way for Joe to either go out on his shield or actually kind of say he was the forgotten man and might be one of the great of his generation. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I think that there is definitely the kind of master and apprentice nature of some of this, really. And especially given the notices that Farrell's had in the past 3 to 5 years, but sort of 3 years, about how outstanding a coach he is. I think this is going to be a real test for Andy Farrell, actually, because I think you could argue he inherited and built on something with Joe Schmidt's team, and he absolutely did, by the way, and brought a kind of an almost rugby league phased attack into a non-planned 6 tackle scenario, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. When Ireland were at the best for so long, it was everyone seemed to know when to run and where to stand, regardless of the situation in the game. That was one of the most impressive things. And it seems he's tried to do a bit of that in the first couple of warm-ups. The Argentina game was a classic example of just this craziness, really. And edge forwards and a small back row, and I think they've slowly started to work out the fact they need to defend better. So that's going to be one thing. But I think it'll be Hugo Keenan's going to play fullback because somebody has to. That's the first thing, because everybody else is injured.
Because he's the last one standing.
Well, exactly. Somebody's got to play fullback.
But he's not quite the Elliot Daly, Blair Kinghorn type of fullback. I mean, he's the play fullback. Yeah.
He isn't. Yeah, and it's but I think I absolutely agree that it is an interesting subplot, and I think this is why a lot of the build-up has been a bit low key. It's notable. There's been no going to schools, glad handing with kids.
Yes.
There's a story that none of them, they were supposed to be going to the grave of Robert Seddon, who was a tourist in the late 1800s who died on a rowing boat accident in 1888. And his grave's been maintained by, I think it's Maitland Rugby Club for years and years. So they've got a sense of none of the players went, but some of them did go to the beach and some of them did go to an NRL game. I think there's something about Farrell recognises there's a legacy issue here. That this is the first team he's had to build literally from scratch in a few months compared to what he built on with Joe Schmidt. And that seems to be clouding everything. I think that's why he's also relying on a lot of people he knows, both in the coaching squad and in the call-ups that he's made. So I think I hear rumours that Andy Farrell is a more online coach than any other coaches you might know, in that he reads a lot of what's being said, I've heard. So so it's a man who should be so supremely confident given everything he's achieved, and it's a strange vibe around it at the minute. And Joe Schmidt, I think, is just one of the most supremely confident people in his abilities in the history of rugby. So that's the big comparison, I would say.
Is this where we try and guess Andy Farrell's burner handle on socials? What is it? If you're out there, Andy, let us know. Will there be any surprises left by kickoff on Saturday night?
I'm not sure.
No. From a British Lions point of view, no. Sorry, but
probably on the bench would be the most flux. This tour has been racked by sort of last minute changes. So you'd be like, will another fullback fall? So
yes.
We
mentioned that Hugo Keenan was the last one standing. The irony there is that he actually was forced to sit down for 10 days, wasn't he? So,
the most peaceful tour ever. I mean, just sitting on the crapper for days on end. No Aled Walters barking at you to lift this and do that. You're just sitting alone.
Hugo, you in it? Yeah, I'm still here.
So Lee, I've been watching this Ultimate Test doco thing, and two things come to mind. One is they heavily feature the Kiwi and Aussie guys. A lot of Finlay Bealham, a lot of Bundy Aki. He runs the Fine Commission, and so Mac Hansen and Canberra and all that. But the other thing is, Andy Farrell, he looked kind of nervous in his speeches. He didn't blow me away with that sort of orator elocution. He's looking at his PowerPoint while he's talking, which I hate, and he's actually going, and now this slide, that slide. He didn't seem to own the room in the way that prior Lions coaches have. I mean, I know that Warren Gatland coached them forever, so it's kind of, we're going way back. But I mean, I haven't seen, because Ireland's so close, they don't give you a lot. I haven't seen him actually in that environment, and it didn't, it was surprising to me.
One of my favorite examples of Lions coach pep talks in history was when Gatland wasn't in charge in 2009. And he did an entire speech holding a Lions shirt on a coat hanger, pointing at it as if to kind of re-emphasize. It was kind of fairly ridiculous and also quite inspiring. He had this picture of Warren Gatland basically did a speech holding up a coat hanger with a shirt on it, pointing at it. liberally using the C word, which I won't use on here because I think you haven't got an explicit rating, which was absolutely wonderful. So
what
comparing
was his point, by the way, what was happening on
about
that?
what the shirt means.
Oh, okay.
Everybody look at the shirt, and this is what
Yeah.
it means, and I'm holding it up for you, and all that, and all you C words need to understand that this C word is a shirt that's been worn by other C's for a very long time, and
is
all that
inspiring,
stuff.
by the way. Yeah.
Well, exactly, exactly. But
in its own way.
No.
And the thing with Farrell is, it's really weird. I don't. It's hard to go. You have to go back with Andy Farrell. You have to remember that Andy Farrell emerged at the age of 17 as one of the greatest, arguably one of the greatest rugby talents that this island of Great Britain has ever produced. I know he's played most of his game in rugby league, but he was a stupendously talented person, massive, could do everything, pace, everything. And he was playing for Great Britain when he was 18, and he captained Great Britain when he was 20, and then he went over to mixed story in rugby, And actually, he was signed into rugby union at the time that Andy Robinson was in charge of England, if people don't know the history, on a lot of it to do with a kind of nebulous idea of leadership. That actually there's not a huge amount of leadership. So what do you do? You'll know, Harry. What do you do when you haven't got the expertise in your company? You buy it in, don't you? So they bought him in to bring this leadership. So there's always this assumed thing about this great leadership thing with him, and he's vocal and all that kind of stuff. But I agree.
How old was he, Lee? Sorry, how old was he when he switched codes? Was he like
31?
Yeah,
31,
right, okay.
32.
Yeah.
He'd been playing prop for 2 seasons and his knees had gone. It was a mad thing to do.
Yeah,
not for him. He did quite well.
I mean, in the World Cup, he was funny playing union. All I know, because it was tail end Andy Farrell. It was comical.
Yeah. And you're right. He'd done the whole typical rugby league thing. You start as a center and a 5'8", and suddenly you realise you're maybe a yard or two slow, so you go into the back row, and then you're right. He was playing prop. And then he switches codes and spent all his time at 12 and 13, didn't he?
Yeah,
but he played 6 for Saracens when he came over. There was an argument over what position he could play, and then exactly the same thing happened with Sam Burgess 10 years later. Nobody learned a single thing about it. Anyway, but the point is, I agree in that. And then when you listen to him, I think the further away you get from who he was as a player, certainly from a rugby league point of view and as a reputation, the more difficult it is. If you just left all that aside and listened to him, you'd be a bit like, meh. Yeah. Because a lot of his, what did he say the other week in one of his, there are no rules. There's no rules. Just go out there and be a lion.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
He says platitudes like that. He goes, he just says, be.
The only rule is be a lion. And he uses the word right a lot. He's from Wigan, near where I'm from, obviously, and originally. So he'll go, so you need to go out there now, right? And the important thing, right, is that you think about being a lion, right? And I don't think that plays that well. And there's nobody around. The other person around him, of course, is Johnny Sexton, who, if you want to sum up what this entire tour, the problem with it, or the vibe problem with it, if you're a British and Irish person, is why the hell is Johnny Sexton even there? And is he doing the team talks? He seems like a really divisive character anyway. So a lot of that is why I think it's not been quite as exciting as it could have been up to this point. Marcus
Smith is seen skipping up to his ball. He's going to do his post-practice kicks. He skips up there and does his thing, and his hair was bobbing around. And there's Johnny Sexton in the background. He goes, no, you pointed wrong.
Yeah,
and Marcus corrects it.
I used to do it different.
And then Marcus corrects it to Sexton's liking, bangs it over, and Sexton's like, come on.
Have you tried doing a loop? You thought about doing a run around loop?
And then you see Sexton kind of wandering lonely around the pitch, saying, "Who else can I tell something that they did wrong?" But I do like the peripheral stuff. There's like people that have been on tour for the Lions 4 times in a row. They're a photographer, or a chef, or a
one of the photographers is on his 8th or 9th tour.
It's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Which, I mean,
the old men of the tour, and they're just kind of wise old men. I do like the vibe of the fine committee where Bundy Aki is the judge, the juror, and everything, executioner. That's good fun. But, I just think more of that from the Wallaby side would also be welcome, Brett. Because it seems like, where are the Wallabies? What are they doing? What's happening?
Yeah, so we had we had the behind the scenes doco treatment done in 2023 with Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones wasn't a massive fan of it, but he could see the point of it, so he tolerated it. And the final product that they put together was pretty good. Like, we certainly saw parts of the team parts of Eddie Jones and the players that we'd not seen before. So that was all fine. Joe Schmidt comes in and the idea was put to him again and he knocked that on the head quick smart. No, we're not doing that. So, yeah, they're having to get a little bit creative. The Wallabies certainly don't have, 50-plus staff on top of the 40 players around them like the Lions.
Hamish spent all that in one dinner in Paris. But so who do you guys think are the personifications? Because I think Lions tours in the end crystallize. You have your Sam Warburtons, you have your Martin Johnsons, you have your Alan Wynne Jones. Like you have these great personages, and it's sort of like that because the Lions feels like this old, knights storming the castle kind of thing. Anyway, who do you think has emerged as being this Lions vintage?
I feel like it was starting to personify around Captain Maro Itoje, but I actually feel like it's veered and it's very much on Finn Russell now. And that it's clear to me that the result or otherwise of this series will come down to what Finn Russell can do on the day. That's just how it looks like it's going to play.
He's a very chill guy. I mean, like
he is. Yeah, it's
24 hours chill.
He did an interview with Stan Sport in Australia this week after training. It was just very casual to the side of the pitch, afterwards and all that sort of stuff. There was no media wall, no, 35 sponsors or anything like that behind. It was just a good one-on-one chat. And he just spoke really openly and calmly and no, I don't necessarily agree with that. And this is why. And it was really, really interesting to listen to him.
What do you think, Lee?
He's absolutely brilliant, Finn Russell. He's he's always a good interview. He's always completely honest, even when he knows it's going to upset people, even his own coach at times, like the whole Gregor Townsend thing. He's supremely talented and not even that difficult with it, actually, which is why I was always surprised Gregor Townsend seemed to struggle with him so much. That's a slight divide thing. He's a brilliant shrugger in the best way, Finn Russell. He'll throw a pass, he'll go 10 foot over somebody's head, he'll just go, he'll shrug, he'll smile, and he'll just kind of move on. He's a fantastic shrugger, even when in the clutch moments, to use an American term, he's not bothered, and I love that about him. But I think a lot of the way that the team plays will come down to him. I agree with you on that, Brett. I think in terms of who sums up everything about the Lions and really what found it always comes down to Jamison Gibson Park to me. He kind of sums up everything about what he's like. He's probably more of a favourite child than his own child to our Andy Farrell, basically, at Gibson Park. So I think he will personify a lot of it. As boring as that is, and that's boring, you see, because I think it's going to be a little bit boring. I'm sorry to say, not in a don't watch it will be boring. Just in the what they're trying to achieve. There's a kind of relentless kind of furious competence to trying to achieve. There
could be something in that if the reports of Owen missing the team on Saturday are true.
It does seem like a bit of a metronome, that attack, when it is humming, diamond-shaped pods, double-sided attack, and Jamison Gibson Park basically just going ba-boom, 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 and, on target and everything. For me, it's Tom Curry. I think, he elbowed out the incredible, formidable challenge of Jack and Josh and Ben Earl and whoever, and sort of he stands there as the pick, and I think he's a proper bastard. When I watch him on the Ultimate Test and people are talking like Andy Farrell's talking, I just see Tom Curry going, and when do you say I can kill someone? Let's go. And so I think there'll be, if there's niggle, and there should be, and there must be in the Lions Test, he'll be the instigator or the recipient, or he'll get someone to lose their rag on the side of the Wallabies. And I do think that he has a certain something about him. Maybe, he's the forward Farrell.
Now, do you just want to clarify, because we have had some comments on your views of Tom Curry in the last 10 minutes.
Fuck off, guys. I can have an opinion about Tom Curry if I want.
You are actually trying to be very complimentary here.
I'm saying that he's a proper rugby player. But,
yes, exactly.
But he's a gunner in those little conferences. He speaks too much. He tries to be like, he's just like, the star pupil guy. But there's a bit of a madness about his eyes if you look at him closely. I mean, that's good rugby, but don't tell me that he wouldn't, if he wasn't playing rugby, he'd be insufferable in your stuff. Sorry.
No, that's definitely cleared it up.
Come at me.
It's funny. So equally then, who are the protagonists you're seeing in in the Australian side then, Harry?
That's so hard. So Harry Wilson's the most likable fella I ever met.
Well, I deliberately didn't ask Lee that question because I reckon it would be even harder from over there.
Good guy to go on a road trip with. Angus Bell looks like good crack, as the Irish would say. I mean, who is it? Sometimes Tate's a bit of a wanker. But I don't think he's, driving the ship. It's Jake Gordon.
No.
They want us to. They want us. Oh my God! They're anointing Joseph Akusu-Soali as the be-all and end-all, a specimen, a unit, and all that. But I don't know if he has the.
See, in his case, it feels like there's a fine line between protagonist and messiah. Like he's been. Yeah, I agree with you. If the Wallabies are going to win this series, it's going to be because of something magic that Suaalii does, and that's A, unrealistic, and B, huge pressure on a young guy who, let's remember, wasn't playing rugby this time last year. So, one angle is
Tom Liner. In 1989, his father was playing against the Lions and a Queenslander, and so that's interesting. 36-year gap, sort of the father-son thing. But it strikes me that the people who really personify this Wallabies is a guy like Tom Wright. I just feel like he's plucky, overmatched, underdog guy, doesn't know it, doesn't care. They're going to have to pull off something like that. Just some try that shouldn't have been scored, Lee, that, just winds up on the score sheet.
I think, Lee, it could actually end up being Jake Gordon for all the reasons that you spoke of Jamison Gibson Park before.
Yeah, I think so. I like Tom Wright. I like Tom Wright, by the way. He's always great value, and there's always just a general latent undercurrent of aggro, which I quite like.
Yes, he's got serious rage.
I do, I like it. But the Suaalii thing's really interesting in that I always find it's interesting that the reaction of some of this is politics and PR, I guess. The reaction of rugby union when he came over versus the NRL when he left. So basically, rugby union were like, "Oh my God, this talent we've got! Can you believe it? He's going to do all this Messiah-like stuff." And the NRL were like, "Yeah, fine, it was a good deal. That we've got about 3 more of him in the academy coming through, roughly." Do you know what I mean? It was kind of, and some of that is PR, some of that is,
and by the way, we're just going to take the winger that you're ignoring to sign him. Yes.
So you guys know Lee. How close is that to truth? Are there a lot of Josephs?
I think he is quite a unique physical specimen, but I don't think they were thinking he's so much better than everybody else. Oh my God, what a loss! I think they figured they could, if you take the value over replacement player, Moneyball tack on it. It was a good deal for rugby league, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, you've only got to watch a little bit of NRL particularly, and team who was up, who suddenly aren't, are getting ready to either fire their coach or drop their halfback. And that's because they've got another wonder coach underneath him, ready to come in and have their time and all that sort of stuff. And he's going to be a definite superstar. That happens in every club every week. Can
one player swing the fortunes of a club more in league than in union? I mean, union's tough for one player to do really much of anything.
There's a few examples. There's a few examples of it. Back when he was at the absolute top of his game, there was a stat that the Newcastle Knights without Andrew Johns went from winning 80% of games to losing 80% of games. And there's a similar sort of stat with Tom Trbojevic at Manly. There probably is a similar stat with Nathan Cleary at Penrith.
Right.
But they've also won 4 straight premierships, so it's not really a one-man show.
It's so hard in union for one player to do anything, really. I mean,
it is.
You can take someone out of a game. You can decide, like with Antoine Dupont in the quarterfinal, the Boks just decided we're going to make you wear us. So, Peter Steptoe is your cloak, is your garment today. And it's just difficult to do much. You've got to make someone else beat them. So I think Joseph Suaalii, if he tries to do too much, would fall into a trap. And also he has to, handle the guile of Hugh Jones. I think it's interesting because both of them might not be able to handle each other at all. It might just line breaks aplenty.
But at least they'll look good doing it.
That's a handsome 13 channel.
It's a very handsome 13 channel.
That's Furlong's not allowed in it. He's going to ruin the entire vibe of the 13 channel. So he can't be selected. Yeah.
So let's then get into this, and this is sort of what I was wanting to do. Like, so how the key questions for me this weekend is how do the Lions win, and how can the Wallabies win? So let's have at it.
In terms of how do the Lions win, they're going to go with a 6-2 bench. They're pretty much overpowered. I think the set piece, the scrum, the only thing they've not had any worries about right from the second they stepped off the plane or before they even did in Dublin was the scrum. Even the diabolical bit against Argentina, the scrum was fine, more than fine.
Yep.
And they've literally got an SA bomb squad type front row replacement ready to come on, and second row really, and even people you weren't really that sure were going to show up and be absolute class. People like Scott Cummins seems to have got a 20% better player in the month that he's been. Not he was a bad player before, but you know what I mean. So I think there's something about there'll just be too much power, and I think Finn Russell is just too clever a player not to use it well, and I think that's where it comes down to for me.
Yeah, for me, it's the Lions will be looking more inward. So everyone hits their marks, everyone does exactly what they're supposed to do. And then you have the ability to finish the pace, power, precision gap, like massive cap gap. They should win. So it's an internal look. It's probably not even outcome based. It's more, are we doing what we're supposed to do in our internals, and they'll be fine. For the Wallabies, it's an age-old thing as an insurgent, guerrilla warfare. How can I lure my superior, more manned, better supplied adversary into a swamp or a jungle, something they shouldn't be doing, but I lure them in somehow, and then they get ambushed. So Joe Schmidt's probably pretty good at that. So I think the question is on the exact how do you make that midfield malfunction? How do you make the loose trio almost have an autoimmune disease? We have Tom Curry running into the wrong guy or something. That's where I think Joe Schmidt will probably pour his energies, is a very diabolical opening 35 minutes, 25 minutes where the Lions are sour, not very happy. The score is 3-9 or something stupid, and then hope for something else to happen.
You've written about this week, isn't it? You've basically said the Wallabies need to learn the lessons from what the Brumbies did and what the Waratahs did the week before it. They've just got to turn the ruck into an absolute mess. And the Lions still found some ways to get through the Waratahs in fairness, but they had success, particularly in sort of the 20 minutes either side of half time. And I'm thinking about the Waratahs particularly there. They were just able to drag the Lions down into a mud fight.
Yeah.
Basically.
So the template is the same template, but with a little better personnel. So, Tom Wright's a bit quicker than Lawton Crayfish, whatever his name is. So if you can stay in the fight at 60 minutes, then you're hoping that Tom Wright will find more magic than Creighton Lawton. And I think the first acknowledgement is that you're the underdogs and actually accept that. I think Joe Schmidt's fully accepted that a while back, and he's probably looking at ways to. So how can I turn Lions' gaudy stats into sort of a nothing? Like negate them, great carries, you're wonderful. You got into the red zone and you failed, and or you took away 3.
The other team, the teams you mentioned as well. And I know it's a couple of weeks ago now, but they got one of the things that's marked out this Lions tour so far is the ease at which people can get through them. If you actually put a bit of dog in it, and I think and that will happen now. And the point you made, Harry, around execution, what the Lions managed to do is defend pretty badly, have people get through them into their 22 quite easily. But every time they got the ball, they just scored. So it didn't matter.
Yes.
Because they've got a bit of that. Whereas I think that will be a different proposition. And if Australia can get the Argentina also showed that having a really good kick and compete game was going to be a problem. Again, they'd only just come together. It wasn't a full squad, but that's something they can. There's nobody better than the reason why Schmidt probably hasn't got a video in his, a documentary in his camp is because there's not much entertainment in somebody blowing the whistle every 3 seconds, going, "Why are you standing there? You should be 3 inches this way. Why are you standing there?" You know what I mean? There's a kind of, but that I'm not being negative. That would be perfect to try to play into this. And I do think there's been a lot of soft shoulders for the Lions. It got a lot better last week, but against an Anzac team that was either still drunk or so disinterested they couldn't be bothered. So, but there's a lot of soft shoulders in that Lions team.
The week before, Harry, and I don't know whether we touched on this or not, but the week before the Brumbies only had 6 or 7 22 entries, but they scored 4 tries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that brings up the problem of cover and scramble defense.
Yeah.
And that can be a problem for scratch teams. I mean, let's be honest, the Lions will have always fared better in Australia than the individual constituent, more cohesive teams have. So there is something
as Ireland, as England has
overarching talent.
Yes.
Yeah, that can. But I still think one of the things that it's hard to bring together is that cover, flag defense, just the kind of thing you just know instinctively where to go and when to start sprinting, like Corbette. I'm going to start sprinting from here. I don't know why I'm doing it quite, but it's just part of my deal. You watch the Lions back, and I tried to on the tries, and there was a lot of standing around. So, I think come the whistle on the first test, no one's making business decisions anymore. No one's worried about being injured. Now it's on. So I think you'll see more fly around. I think you'll see more Jack Conan coming out of his skin to the corner. Yeah.
And that's actually what I'm looking forward to on Saturday night, to see whether there is a marked difference in speed and intensity from what we've seen. And I'm sure there will be. There should be, definitely. But how noticeable is it going to be?
I think that's why something like Curry gets picked, to be honest. Because because he is, to go back to Harry's point, he's one of those always in the eye line, completely infuriating players to play against, clearly, isn't he? Even at that level. And I think what he will do is set some aggression straight away, because he's just all energy and aggression, which is not to say Van der Fleer and Jack Morgan aren't that. And I don't actually agree with Curry's selection, but I can understand why it's happening. It depends what you want in the game. Yeah. And I think for the first 30 minutes of that game, actually setting it, because one thing Farrell said after every game is the energy wasn't right in the defense. And then apart from after that Waratahs game where he said somebody had watered the pitch, and he seemed really annoyed about that, which really quite strange. But so strange.
It was God 4 days earlier.
It was so bizarre.
For 9 hours.
Yeah. If only European rugby players knew how to play with a wet ball, it's bizarre. But so I can see. I think that's what plays into this, and it is the kind of, you're going to get injured now. You're going to get injured now, aren't you? You're going to fly in.
Right. This is it.
Yeah. How, Harry, do the Wallabies make up for not having Rob Valentini, as seems likely? He didn't play against Fiji. It was always going to be tight as to whether he would make the Lions squad, but it looks like he's not going to be right for Brisbane.
It's a big loss. They need to do something that the Aussie fans will hate, which is proper, well-constructed box chases, 2 or 3 men with Suali involved in those 11, 12, 13 proper contestable chases. The scraps that might fall from that might give a guy like Tom Wright the keys to the house. Yep. Can streak away and score. Those tries always look lucky, but they're not. If you put enough balls in the air, proper places, with the new access, no shepherd, no guard stuff, you would think that's where Suali will earn his millions. And it doesn't take many. You saw that play, was it against England, where he rose into the air, palmed the ball, and then looked around while he was still in his 3-second hang time and fed someone. I go, that's just something that I don't know if there's anyone on the Lions besides Kinghorn who's injured could do.
That was on debut.
Yeah, and it was silly. And so I thought, give him those fractured, chaotic places where I think he's probably the most comfortable. If it's just wave on wave of phase to phase, blitz line defense by the Lions and a sort of a soak drift by the Wallabies, I think it's good night Wallabies.
Yeah, could be. What are you seeing from afar, Lee? Did you see much of the Australia-Fiji game?
No, apart from the highlights. Yeah. Although I think, to be fair, Fiji have had a good couple of weeks. They've got
beat Scotland very well. Yeah,
Isn't it amazing what happens when you're allowed to play tests at home? How good would anybody's record be if your entire history was playing away from home?
I made that point only about 10 days ago that Fiji still, and it's going to have to change with this nation's championship, but Fiji still play 8 out of 10 tests at home, away from home.
Yeah, but if you look at Australia, England last year, there are ways in which you can find a way for this team to win in terms of a distance. I just hope it's competitive. Let's be honest. I mean, you don't want to reverse 2005 New Zealand Lions tour, do you? Where it just starts to become. I suppose the only good thing about it is if the Lions are 2-0 up, and this is not me saying that's going to happen, before anyone says arrogant, English person. But if it does, you might have a really, really good, fun third test where you just pick all the mad people to play because it doesn't matter, and you get Pollock and everybody all tipped out onto the field, and we can all witness the fact that every single opposition member just hates Henry Pollock. It's the greatest thing in modern rugby. I can only assume they put a slideshow up in the week before the game going, this is Henry Pollock, and here's the reasons why you should despise him or something. I don't know. It's really funny. But
he's clearly getting bullied in the Lions camp. You can watch that show and go,
he definitely is. There's moments where I actually feel sorry for the kid.
Yeah, he's not really quick on the repartee. He just sort of
he seems totally bulletproof with it though. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Yeah,
he probably doesn't.
I don't think he recognizes the insults. Yeah. So Brett, my question is, who gets Bobby V's carries? Because he is one of the few guys you'd say in a composite team you'd put Bobby in there.
Well, it probably comes down to one of two, and ironically, they were both uninvited from a Wallabies camp back in January, and that's Tom Hooper or Langy Gleeson. But they're the
Gleason's
two.
An injured out though. Yeah,
he is. But they are the two closest big body carriers to Valentini in this squad. So it's got to be one of those two.
Country boy Tom.
If it's Tom Hooper, that then gives them a little bit more of a line out factor, and I think Tom Hooper was always in the frame because with Will Skelton around the side, there's always a question of pack balance. So if it's Hooper, that sort of makes sense. But this is just obviously a massive opportunity for him because he's had a storming season of Super Rugby. He'll probably end up taking out Brumbies Player of the Year, might even win the Australian Player of the Year, and then he goes to Exeter in a couple of months' time.
It is a strange thing if Tom Hooper and Tom Liner are sort of the big, you've got to carry the team. Like that wasn't on anyone's list a year ago.
No. And look, so the interesting part there is, there was questions even only as recently as 2 weeks ago. Does Skelton start? And look, I don't mind admitting I've asked the same question myself. Does Skelton start? Is he actually better coming off the bench for the last 25, 30 minutes? Get your set piece in place. Go with Frost, Williams, whoever it has to be. But now that there's a bit of a doubt over Valentini, and Skelton didn't play the Fiji test either. But I don't think there's any question now that Skelton has to start because they do need the extra physicality in the carrying up through the middle.
Well, no, I think that's true, Lee. There's a huge divide when you hear people talk about Will Skelton in the North, and then you hear Aussies talk about him, and there's at least 60% of Aussie fandom that goes, "He's nothing, overrated.
Yes.
What's he ever done?"
Which, of course, is still based on what he did for the Waratahs in 2013 and 14. So.
And he had a different dietitian, I think. So Skelton's game is multifaceted, though. I mean, he's an offloader, and he has great hands. So I think,
and that's where someone like Tom Wright, like Harry Potter,
can feed off.
Dylan Peach can feed off that sort of thing as well. So there are ways for the Wallabies to get into and disrupt the Lions line, but that's going to be the question, Lee, how they can actually do that effectively and in the right parts of the field to be able to cash in on.
The more we talk about this, Lee, the more pessimistic I am about the Wallabies. I'm going to shield myself from more discussion. I'm wondering about the carry now. I don't see the carries. Bobby is just a automatic gain line, first ruck setter, second ruck setter, get over, breathe.
Oh, so much of his. If you look at the Brumbies at the start of this year, their first month was a bit slow because Valentini wasn't there, and he sets the tempo for so much of their forward momentum because they set him into midfield off the back of a six-man line out, and they build off that. They pick and drive off that. They carry off that. They kick off that. Without him, they just didn't have that same forward impetus, and so that's absolutely going to apply now. Now you're dragging me down. Good on you.
The good
No,
thing
look,
is,
I'm really
Lions are
really
not-
interested to see how it plays out
Yeah.
because I'm with you, Lee. Like what we don't want is a 19 or 21-0 scoreline after 20 minutes. That's what we don't want.
I think Andy Farrell does want that.
Oh, I've got no doubt at all. He definitely does want that, but that's not what the context.
That's why
is.
nobody's allowed to go put wreaths on graves midweek because he's that's how focused he is on being 21 points
He'll
up.
finally smile and go meet the children.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let someone think of the children. So, how much better are the Lions this week as opposed to last week and the week before that and the week before that?
Their defense was noticeably better on Saturday. I mean, you've got to grade the opposition on a curve, obviously. But regardless of the opposition, the way they were tied together and the way that the blitz went forward and the way that it was organised was infinitely better than it's been. I think the attacking game is hard to pin down because unless Phil Russell's playing, I don't think it's hard to put a pin on it. But I think the big gaps that they've had is really basic stuff like restarts and lineouts and actually energy and coordination in defence. That last one got a lot better last week. The lineouts have been getting gradually better, and I think they want to sort the restarts. And I think beyond that, I won't rehash everything that's already been said. There's just sometimes it's as simple as everybody's just a little bit better. And if they all deliver, if they all do a minimum 7 out of 10 performance across the 23, they're going to win. You know, it's and for all the reasons that you've outlined.
And that's probably been the difference, Harry. If they started in Perth as 7 out of 10 performers, they became 7.5, and now they're probably 8.5, and they're getting better. They've had more time together.
Yep, I will incorporate everything Lee said by reference and add on. I felt like there was a better vibe when I sort of look at who's celebrating with who and make sure they're cross-border celebrations. And Ty Byrne is hugging Henry Pollock, and there was that feeling that the Lions have definitely come together, and the campfires are burning, the songs are going, and I think that's very important because I think they will go in now pretty hard. And like I said, if they take care of business, they look unassailable at the current moment with sort of a rookie fly-off driving them, best carrier over the last 5-6 seasons gone, and an undercooked, not enough games for the Wallabies. Should have scheduled another one, I think, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's been an interesting conversation as well because 2013, I don't think they had any. 2001, I don't know if they had any either. So, yeah, this concept of, I mean, that's
just play the Crusaders or something. Yeah,
that's a sign of where the modern game's going, isn't it? A quick one before we let you go, Lee. How do the Lions juggle the midweek game in Melbourne next Tuesday, or is that a Sunday afternoon problem once they land down in Melbourne?
They solve it by calling up half the population of Britain and Ireland.
It's true. Everyone gets a jersey.
Which you can go into a long discussion about the spirit of the thing and whether this is right, but I think ultimately you just made a point about things that are symptomatic of the modern game. And I think ideally you probably wanted to do this from the beginning, but didn't want to again go through the 2005 arguments about the size of the squad and create a divide in the squad straight away because half the squad's clearly for the midweek and all that stuff. So I get that. So I think they're just going to deal with it by saying there's no way I'm putting any test team up against that team, which is going to be an absolute monster, let's be honest. So and he's going to write that off as a loss, I think, and not really care much.
I bet they don't lose it.
Yeah.
I bet they don't.
But I don't think they care.
They still win it. Yeah. No, you're right. There might be maybe a couple of test bench players come on with 5 minutes to go. But I think you're right. I think it's a bit
like Paul Newman salad dressing when you think about it. By the way, I think that point was, now that I think about it, I think it was from the Owen Farrell announcement. Am I correctly? You were digressing from a digression and got into salad dressing.
Probably, and then he got talking about. I think then we concluded that he probably had the original and most profitable side hustle.
But didn't even take the profits. Amazing.
No, he didn't.
Yeah,
he was also a racing car driver and an incredibly handsome man. You know,
how many Newman hustles did Paul Newman have?
Paul Newman is like sort of a living, breathing digression because you can just keep digressing. There's so many points you can go to, and more handsome than Hugh Jones, by the way.
Yeah, such a good-looking man.
Now or back then?
Bone structure forever as an 80-year-old man. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
He's a corpse now, isn't he?
Yeah. Bones and
I don't
ashes.
know how handsome he is now.
Yeah. He might be called up by Andy Farrell soon. We don't know.
If he played for Leinster, he would.
Anywhere in the Donnybrook area, he's on.
Very true, mate. It's been a great chat as always. We've really enjoyed it. We've covered off plenty of areas we probably weren't think we would. We've not touched on areas that we thought we might, and that's just the way it is in this medium, isn't it? We digress from digressions.
And I don't false advertise. The fact you didn't get through your list that you wanted to get through because I'm here is. I can't be blamed for that. It's your fault.
Yeah, no, that's all on us. Thanks, mate. We'll talk again soon.
Cheers, Lee.
Bye.
This is the 8-9 combo with Brett McKay and Harry Jones. And mate, wonderful to have Lee Calvert back on the 8-9. That was sort of felt like we headed into blood and mud territory at different points through that chat.
Good man.
I say that in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, very good man, Lee. Actually, that was the first pod I ever listened to that was about rugby, maybe first pod ever about anything. And I've always, I like the style of a raconteur conversationalist. Very good. But, under all, and you could tell, obviously, why he does the play-by-play for Guardian is he's got a deep understanding of rugby. Yeah. And I think in this particular Lions series, maybe importantly, a deep understanding of league and union, because there's a big league undercurrent in this series that wasn't present, for example, Garrett Gatlin versus Rassi. I mean, Farrell, league legend, all this, and then you have Sua Lee coming in. It's magic.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. You make sure you find the Blood and Mud podcast out on all the pod platforms, wherever you pod as well. We'll be back with the first Lions test post-mortem recording pretty soon after full time between Australia and the British and Irish Lions on Saturday night. I'll be at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting.
I want someone that no one's talking about to be the one we're talking about. That's what my goal.
Yeah.
That'd be my aspiration. Dave Parecki.
Yeah, I'd love
40 meters
love
out.
for it to be a Nick Frost moment or something like that. A Len Ikitau, offload or line break.
Ikitau's too good. I want someone that no one even thinks is that good. Tom Robertson with an intercept try from 80 meters out.
It'd be a big call. I don't reckon he's even in the top 25 at the moment. Never mind starting. So look, we'll see how we go. And make sure you're subscribed as well so you don't miss the next edition of the 8-9 Tap and Go. Properly exclusive to the 8-9 YouTube. Maybe as soon as this Friday, discussing teams, depending on what Wi-Fi in Brisbane's like. We'll see how we go, but definitely out next Tuesday. It's short, it's sharp, it's mostly unscripted, and it's been going all right. We seem to be enjoying it, don't we, mate? So we'll have another crack at that on Friday potentially. Games of the week, very quickly to wrap up. What has been a really enjoyable chat, and it's all the international rugby. Again, Scotland playing Samoa in Auckland on Friday night. Also, Canada playing Spain in Edmonton. They're off the back of that win over the USA. New Zealand, France in Hamilton. Australia, the Lions, obviously in Brisbane. South Africa playing Georgia in Mbombela. Speaking of Uruguay, Argentina playing Uruguay in Salta, and the USA playing England in Washington, D.C. And then the Under-20s World Championships finals happening on Sunday in Italy. Have I got that right?
Yeah,
Saturday.
So the baby blacks against the baby box.
Yes, that will be interesting. There's some incredible young talent running around in that competition at the moment. I know you watched a hell of a lot more than I have. But
I've watched
really
all the top games. Hashim Peed at number 9 is like the second coming of US
South Africa.
Just unbelievable. It's interesting because I think almost the All Blacks have sort of a more cohesive team, but Kevin Foote, formerly of the Melbourne Rebels, has these baby boxes.
Friend of the pod. Yeah.
They are cooking, and it's very much a counter-attacking team. Should be good fun. It's been really hot, though. It's almost painful to watch these players dying in the heat of northern Italy right now.
Yeah,
40
right.
degrees, 39 degrees. That's a
Yikes.
suffering.
That's a suffering. What of those other internationals are you going to keep an eye on this weekend?
I mean, I watched the Box play Georgia. It's interesting to see exactly what happens between England and USA. Eagles playing a lot better forward play, and AJ McGinty at 10, but they just have a bit of a bad midfield right now, so that could be bad for them. Let's see. Probably this game between Scotland and Samoa could be of interest.
It could be interesting. I think New Zealand France goes similar to last weekend.
I'm kind of off that series.
France are on the end of the tour already now.
Unless the All Blacks, there's no coming back from that first shocking close game in the first one where I just think it's taken the sting out of the series. I just think no matter what the All Blacks say, now I'm watching them from individual. I like watching Cam Roigard, for example. I like watching Will Jordan. But I think the team itself, it's just all in the rugby championship. Like, let's just wait till then, and then we'll see what.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that might be it. I think we're done. Yeah.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks to Lee. Absolutely fantastic to have Lee Calvert back on the 8-9. So our sincere thanks to him. Do make sure you go and check out the Blood and Mud podcast. You can tell us what you think by following Harry and I on the socials in our usual places. You can find the 8-9 Combo on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on YouTube as well, where you can have your say. You can leave a comment on Spotify as well, which we're seeing a little bit now of as well. But either way, we'd love to hear from you wherever you can. We love shares, we love likes, we love reviews, we love ratings. So wherever you can, please do. This is the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed in a rugby podcast. Sean Maloney's ready to fire up the closer. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones. And we will be back in your ears several times over the next week. Tap and go, first more of them, great rugby chats, all of them.
Come, Lions with us. Roar.
Here goes Jones with another bruising run. He links up with McKay, who pops back to Jones. They can't. They won't. They will. What a try. The Dream Team Combo go in again.